If you are a small business owner, I'm sure sometimes you feel like you need a marketing degree just to successfully market your business. I'm here to tell you that is not the case if you use Constant Contact. Constant Contact's award-winning platform has powerful marketing tools to make it easy to grow your audience, engage your customers, and sell more. In just a few clicks, you can launch a campaign that is tailored to your business and goals. Maybe you're launching a new product, or releasing a newsletter, or want to tell your customers about upcoming deals. Constant Contact can help with all of that. This includes email, SMS, social media, and so much more, all designed to be easy so you can sell more, raise more, and fast-track business growth. Plus, Constant Contact's award-winning customer service is there for guidance along the way to help you with things like customer lists, templates, and follow-ups. Get going and start growing your business today with a free trial at ConstantContact.com. Constant Contact, helping the small stand tall.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, joined by Josh Bell. We are coming to you pretty somber. Dallas Mavericks just lost Game 5 of the NBA Finals and lost the series 106-88. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I know we like to joke, but obviously didn't want the series to end this way. Obviously, I know it's tough. I know Mavs fans going through it. Hopefully we'll be able to, as we talk through the game, since the season's over and we kind of talk more about the season at large. I hope the takeaway as we get to the end of the week, because it's kind of crazy that it feels weird that today's Monday. I don't know why. It feels like it shouldn't be Monday. It should be Friday, or I cannot believe that now we've got the whole season, the whole week to go as we deal with the fallout of the season ending. But I hope by the time we get to Friday, I hope most Mavs fans understand, and I'm sure a lot of them understand right now, that just how special this season was. But I also don't want to deny any, I think the big thing with us lately has been we don't want to deny fans their feelings, because fans are allowed to fan. And
that's right.
You're allowed to be mad, frustrated.
That's right.
Wax, but there's
I saw some dumb fuck Thunder fan who was a Russell Westbrook stan account in the year 2024, trying to make fun of Mavericks, and it's like, your team got bitch slapped by these Mavericks. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not in any mood for any of this stuff. I'm just not. I had a great time this season. This season has been absolutely insane, personally, professionally. The series of things that have happened both in my real life and then between Josh and I bouncing around with this, it's if you would have told us when the Mavericks were 26-23 that the Mavericks were going to win or going to make it all the way to the NBA Finals, I would have told you were crazy.
You would have told them they're crazy if we told you they'd finish that season with 50 wins.
They came out of the All-Star break, guys, and they lost a lot of games. And we're like, what did they make these trades for? They were getting, because people forget this because this is just the way the season goes. But Josh and I were coming in here and talking about how teams are sitting on Luka and basically daring him to score 50 as he, does his, slowly working into moves plan. And the Mavericks are losing. And then all of a sudden, a weird thing happened where teams just stopped doing that. And the Mavericks defense really tightened up. They removed Josh Green from the starting lineup. They played Derek Jones Jr. in the starting lineup instead. And that seemed to unlock something within the Mavericks. And they went on a run. And it was a great run. And you're watching the series, and I think we'll talk about the series as a whole, or maybe the playoffs as a whole, the season as a whole, kind of as a series review. But free agency starts soon. The draft is soon. The Mavericks only have the 58th pick. the gauntlet of content is still upon us. And I don't want to overreact to any one thing tonight. Josh tried to tell everybody in the playoff preview, essentially saying, hey, the Celtics are an all-time great team. The Mavericks might be able to do some stuff, but the Mavericks' path to victory is much more narrow than the Celtics. And I think that's how this played out. I mean, tonight, if you were to really boil it down to two things as to why the Mavericks lost. First of all, the Celtics shot lights out from three. That had not happened yet. It just hadn't happened yet.
They did not shoot lights out from three.
No, they did when the game was on the line.
Oh,
like
okay.
Were while the game was in play, like we're talking the
true.
first 2.5 quarters. The
I
Celtics, they were 12 of 21 at half, man.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Like the game, that's where I understand what you're talking about. Is like
no, you're right. There was a lot of garbage time.
There's a lot of garbage time in this one.
You're right.
I need to started shooting stupid shit. And the second thing that happened, and I'm the Mavericks' two best players were really not good when it mattered. Like you look at the stat lines right now and you could make the case, okay, Luka finished with, let's just see here. Luka finished with 28 points and 12 of 25 shooting. Guys, he was like 4 of 13 at one point. Like he was not very good. He was not very good. And it's okay to say that out loud. Kyrie Irving, really, really, really not good again in Boston. He was 2 of 10 at one point with one made three. It starts from there. You just have to say it starts with the Mavericks' two best players being really bad. And if you can't admit that to yourself, then you're too much of a fan of one particular player. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to and if that's how you fan, I'm not going to argue with you tonight. I'm just really not. Like our comment section is brutal right now with people who are fans of one player more than the other. Like I'm a little different than Josh. Like I still bleed fucking blue. Like the Mavericks are the team that I root for. I'm not going to sit here and act like one thing was more important than the other. If you're a fan of one player over the team, then my brain wants to call you a name that I'm not gonna, because I don't want to tell people how to feel tonight. But just understand that's what I'm leaning towards. Then you go through the rest of it, and the rest of the Mavericks were also bad. Like this was the Josh Green game. Like oh my God. At one point, the Mavericks starters were 2 of 21 from three. And those threes weren't made by Kyrie or Luka. They were maybe one was by Irving and one was by Derek Jones Jr. I mean, PJ Washington had one of the most devastatingly awful performances I could have possibly imagined. Every time he touched the ball, bad things happened. Every time.
He definitely earned every bit of his game low minus 26. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was a rough game. He had as many points as turnovers. When a role player has 4 points and 4 turnovers, your team's
and
not
he had
doing
2
well.
points and 4 turnovers. Like he didn't score that second bucket until the game was already 28 points deep or whatnot.
Yeah. As someone who maybe is I don't know if you would call me the president of the PJ Washington fan club. I take some responsibility since I was the one who started this started this movement last summer when I decided to write about it. And then everyone started to be like, oh, this guy seems like he's pretty good. And then led to this moment. And I've been, I defended him during the Oklahoma City series. Our friend of the show, Matt Moore, who was like, he just, this was just ridiculous shot variance. And I was like, well, no, he's actually like pretty good. And maybe he's not this good, but like, I believe, cause I've been a believer in his talent and I'm still am, but these last 2 games, even in game 4, he was not great.
No, he wasn't very good all series. Like and
he had a horrible series.
If there are moments, like there's a bunch of linchpin moments involved in this series where that's not the right word. Hinge points. That's a better point. Where PJ was involved. Like he got fucked in the first half by an awful travel call that was not a travel. Like there's simply no way you call that a travel any way, shape, or form. That NBA referee was really, really bad. But the rest of his game unraveled following that point. That's okay to say that out loud. It just is. Then you go through the rest of them. Gafford, pretty ineffective. Derek Jones Jr., stop challenging Kristaps Porzingis. Just no longer do that. The price for him ought to go down significantly after that series. Then you go through everybody else, and it's things get tight. Like again, Lively didn't have a particularly effective game. Maxi Kleba, his minutes were devastating. Like he just really bad.
Yeah, and the Celtics make you look really bad.
That's a great way. I think that's probably the best. And then the funny part, I like the guy. We got a super comment that I'll just address right now. Shout out to to Seven Harry Lime, who says, this is just to say thank you for doing a great job with this podcast all year. Also, I'm sorry Josh Green played well. Prayers sent. And really, Josh Green was the best. Like Josh Green was the best Mavericks player. He really was. 5 of 8 from the floor, 2 rebounds. He scored 14 points. He made it look good. Like shout out to him. Just really.
Yeah, it was just. We were coming out of game 4 because, like you said, you look, really it's Green. Green's numbers were really the only thing that really pop out to you as having a great game if you watch the game live. So, it was a tough watch from that end, that perspective. And I think coming out of game 4, I think we were wondering, okay, so was this something that was sustainable, or was this just the Celtics totally took their foot off the gas for one game up 3-0 because this is a team that does take their foot off, they as sure. Great as they are, they usually have one game where they kind of are like, okay, we don't really, we're not as interested in winning this game. And then they kind of kick your butt for the other 4 or 5 games in the series. And, that was game 4. And we were wondering, hey, maybe more Exum minutes, maybe more Josh Green minutes. Green did play well. That Exum didn't really play much at all. He had 9 minutes and didn't do too much. And I think it was pretty clear the Mavericks kind of emptied the tank. Last home game, potentially of the season, sent the fans home happy. Luka in particular was a madman in game 4 in terms of like his effort level on defense and what he was doing getting to the rim. And he looked like he had nothing left in the tank. Like he just, and this isn't like, I'm not even trying to criticize. I'm just saying like what happened, like just what happened. Like it just looked like he had whatever he had left, whether it's injuries or fatigue. Or just the enormous workload catching up to him because his usage in the finals has been considerably up compared to the other 3 rounds.
Sure.
It just looked like he didn't have it. And, he didn't get to the rim. His 3-point shot has been gone for like 5 games now because it looks like he has 0 legs because, again, every time you look at his right knee, it's bleeding underneath his sleeve. Like, It's pretty obvious he just did not have the legs to get into his threes. He went he only made 3 threes in the final 3 games. He attempted, and I can't even, 15, 24. So 3 of 24 from 3, my quick math to end the series. Like it didn't look like he had it. Like, the shot just looked off. Like it wasn't like he was rimming out some good looks. Like he was just missing shot. Any jumpers, just didn't look right. And defensively, like he was, he had some moments one-on-one where he was really dialed in and moving his feet, but off ball was really difficult. And you could kind of tell, like, he was just like, okay, look, if I've only got this much percentage of energy left, I can't play 45 minutes of balls out defense and also be the person initiating. And again, this is the response to a lot of people is going to be, well, Luka needs to get in better shape. And my rebuttal to that isn't necessarily that you're wrong. Like, of course, he should continue to get in as good a physical shape as he can. But to what end? Because I don't think there is a physical shape he can achieve.
I think that's right.
I don't think there's a physical shape the human body can achieve.
You've been making that argument for several days now.
When you're asking a guy to have a 38 usage, like, I don't think he can also be a top flight defender. Like, even LeBron, like, the only other person is LeBron. And it's pretty clear LeBron is one of one in terms of physical stature in the NBA. There's just no one like that. Like, you look at Tatum and Brown and people are like, well, they're two-way players. And it's like, yeah, well, they don't use the ball nearly as much as Luka does. And because they've got one of the best 1 through 6 lineups in the league, like, there's got to be a point where the Mavericks, it's kind of twofold. Does Luka want to play differently? Like, will he give up the ball even more? And I think we saw some of the answers to that during the regular season where it looked like he gave it up more. He pushed out ahead a little bit more. And then 2, can you build a roster that just lets him do that? And they got close this season. That's why they're in the finals. But, they just go against a team that had the 4th best net rating all time. And it just looks a little worse.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's worth acknowledging the fact that the Mavericks, they went back to a very ISO heavy ball specifically because of how the Celtics defended.
Right.
They're Istok Franco showed one of those screenshots where it's here the Mavericks. It was a joke to the extent of there was a lot of talk about how the Celtics were essentially guarding ISO, Luka and ISO, which, I mean, when you load up 4 guys on one side of the floor and you don't particularly care about who's on the opposite side, while also being a very effective, just helping off these plays, they didn't care about any of the Mavericks role players. They didn't care. And, that's one of these things I think that to a certain extent we had been wondering when that was going to happen. I mean, we've talked about this for a long time. The Mavericks are an awful shooting team, but they traded shooting for athleticism. And the athleticism is what got them here. I'm trying not to overreact to one particular series because the Celtics are a very, very good, well-constructed team designed to break opponents' game plans.
And specifically this Mavericks game plan.
Sure. And I'm not interested. I mentioned this last series, but it's if you think the Wolves would have done better against this Celtics team on offense, then you don't know what you're talking about. I think maybe you could make the argument that the Thunder might have had just because of how they space too.
Theoretically, the Thunder, but we saw,
and I think Denver as well,
the playoff experience,
but not the Wolves. Not the Wolves whatsoever. Denver and probably Oklahoma City, but it's just it's different. It's how teams play. As the series went on, Luka had less and less space to play with, and because Kyrie was so bad on the road, it effectively didn't matter. They didn't care that Kyrie scored 35 points. I mean, game 3 for Luka, as we've already discussed, was a disaster. If the Mavericks have certain sort of inflection points that they're sitting on, it's the tail end of game 2 in Boston. It's then the entirety of game 3 where Luka was out of control. Those are the ones that were pretty brutal. But that's just what basketball is. I mean, I'm sure the Thunder have particular, they look at elements of things that happen with PJ Washington's hot shooting or with, Lou Dort playing poor in a particular series. I mean, again, I just can't stress enough how much I don't give a shit about the Timberwolves. I know that they won these close games. They won the close games. That's the point that matters. But the Thunder, I think, was a little different of a series. But we're here now, and we're watching what the Celtics did, and they shut the Mavericks down in very, very specific ways. And I think I find myself a little bit frustrated from a conceptual standpoint in that I feel like Jason Kidd never really countered with anything. They never changed their lineups. They tried slight variations of rotations. But then if you were to ask me, what do I think Jason Kidd should have done? I don't have a good one outside of more lively minutes.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are pretty mad about the lineups, and that's difficult. The only thing I could have thought of is maybe you start Lively over Gafford, but I think that the way that the postseason run had gone, it just never really presented itself, and especially they won the way they won Game 4. I don't think you make a lineup change coming. If they would have changed the lineup, it probably should have happened after Game 2. But even then, I don't know if starting Lively over Gafford changes anything considerably about the way this series went. So that's nitpicky. And then other than that, the bench was a disaster. The lineups were weird because he just kept trying different bench guys because no one really gave him consistent minutes. And that was a factor starting from Game 1 against the Clippers. The Mavericks starting 5 and then Lively were really the 6 players they relied on. And from the 7 to 10 spots, it was a roulette wheel, especially when Maxi Kleba gets hurt, comes back, and it clearly isn't as effective. clearly looks like a different player since before that shoulder injury compared to when he came back from it, because he was actually having a pretty good series, I felt, against the Clippers, at least defensively. Again, maybe that's just matchup because the Clippers bigs aren't really dangerous.
Sure.
Compared to, what the Celtics have, or what the Thunder would have thrown out, or the Wolves, like if Maxey was fully healthy for that series. So, he played, the people get mad at the Tim Hardaway Jr. minutes, but he tried all these,
this guy. No, there were too many Tim Hardaway minutes, buddy. Like,
I know,
there were too many over 2 games. It's like, when I understand the game was already out of reach, but they were ISOing Timmy and Luka over and over and over again. And it's like, what are we doing?
I know, but then you watch, PJ and Derrick Jones Jr. are combined 1 for 9 from 3. It's just like, okay, like, what do you, what do you do? Like, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not trying to say Tim should have played a lot or played better. I think lineup and rotation wise, I think he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you want to go after coaching and tactics, the thing that I was very puzzled by was throughout this series, the Mavericks really showed little to none offensive counters in the way they were playing. You saw bits and pieces, like when they posted up Gafford a few times against Jason Tatum, when the Celtics would put a wing on Gafford to try to get them out of that. I thought that was pretty good, but they weren't really consistent with going to that, which I guess also makes sense because, like, you don't want to divert your whole offense into posting up Daniel Gafford. Like, that might be playing into what the Celtics,
which, like, when the second half started and they did do, like, it just happened to be not like an ISO, but Gafford getting all the way to the rim and just short arming a layup over Tatum. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And the thing that I was kind of befuddled by was they just didn't show any type of off ball creativity. Hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze right in midpoint. But, like, we saw some things at the end of the regular season. We saw some things in the Thunder series and the Wolves series, especially with Kyrie Irving off the ball. And that did not happen in this series. Like, Kyrie's off-ball movement was, like, nowhere to be found.
Nope.
His catch-and-shoot 3 attempts, like, I mean, I think he took – I can count on one hand, I think, how many catch-and-shoot 3 attempts he took in this series. Almost all of his threes were pull-up, transition, pull-up.
But the shots that he missed were shots that he's been making. Like, in the first half, it was kind of a flare screen action up at the top. It was at the top of the screen, so left side of the floor. And he's shooting over Kristaps Porzingis, who moved like a mummy. Really, honestly, the Porzingis minutes were a gift to the Mavericks. And Kyrie just missed the 3. I mean, the kind of threes that had gone down for him the last play, like the entire playoffs run, did not go down for him on the road. Yeah. He has some demons he's got to sort out. Sorry. I've really appreciated the Kyrie Irving experience this year. It's been much better than I ever could have thought, but 3 straight horrendous game, Yeah.
I think he only had really one or two great good games in this series. He was pretty good in games 3 and game 4. Yeah. Both the 2 home games. So he was really bad in the road games. And the thing is, you're right. Like, he was missing shots that he was making in the first 3 rounds, but also he just wasn't getting the easy shots that he got in the first 3 rounds. And he was just standing in the corner a lot. And I don't know if that was by design or what, but, like, I pointed out, like, I've shown some action where the Mavericks kind of do, like, some double screens for Luka with Kyrie setting one of the screens and then popping out to the wing and, like, doing some stuff off ball. Like, we saw what he did to Anthony Edwards when Anthony Edwards tried to guard him in the West Finals, like running him through the washing machine, or however you want to call it. That's probably a bad analogy. Sorry. I got my phrases wrong, but, like, just constantly moving around without the ball. And that was such a big factor in why they were so successful this season offensively, was Luka giving up some of his control on the offense so that they could do this Kyrie off ball stuff. And that's why it's worked so well. And, like, when people saw the trade happen last year when Kyrie was here, they're like, oh, it's not going to work. It's like, Kyrie's got a lot of experience being a really good off ball player. And it just didn't happen this series. And, like, they kept going to the one-on-one stuff. And when I was at game 3 and I asked them after the game, and they felt like that, again, this is talking to the media after the game. I don't know how truthful they're being, but they said, like, no, we're actually, like, this is what we want to do. We want to do one-on-one so that we force them out of it because we score so well in this one-on-one coverage.
But they don't.
They didn't. Yeah. And it was just like, you got to try, like, they just offensively, they looked the same from games 1 to games 5, with the only difference being a couple possessions here or there, posting up Gafford. They did a better job in, I think, game 3 and game 4 of going after like Al Horford and Xavier Tillman, but it just wasn't enough. And they needed to get a little bit more creative off the ball, which was a shame because I thought they showed some of that before the regular season.
All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know it's not fun to lose. I mean, there's really no other way around that, but this has been a long season, a weird season. Josh and I, we got like fired, but the podcast network we worked for effectively slowly started dissolving, in large part to give Andre Iguodala a podcast because reasons. I mean, it is what it is. We were free agents for a while towards the end of one of the worst Mavericks seasons in some time. We started the YouTube channel right as the Mavericks were self-combusting. It was basically April of 2023. And in the last 14 months, we've grown our channel from 0 people to like 3,200. We don't know what we're doing. We regularly do this podcast. We got peers and friends in the space like Nick Angstad over at Locked On Mavs, but Nick does it for his job now. It's a full-time thing. That's how hard Nick has worked, and it turned into a long-time thing. And I am occasionally just sort of amazed. My friend Spike Eskin, who runs the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast and is also on radio up in Philadelphia, he told me once, he's like, I told him that we had 25,000 people to listen to this podcast in a given month, which is true. 25,000 individual people have downloaded this podcast, in a lot of cases, multiple times. And he said, think about that. He's like, 25,000 people. That's more people than sit in the American Airlines Center. He's right. And so sometimes I get a little salty that we're not more, but then I realize what we are. And that's largely because of the people who come in here, who listen on audio streams and who just continue to support us. And in some cases, hate listen. Love those people too. We're really grateful for your support this year. We're going to continue doing it. Josh and I will probably not podcast with the frequency, but we will be here. Free agency starts soon. I wasn't going to host a group therapy, but I think I'm going to tonight just because it feels like there's a little bit of angst that friends want to get out. So if you're listening to this show and it's your first time or your 100th time, just know that Josh and I are grateful for you. If you consider subscribing to the show, whether it's on YouTube or whether it is on your podcast platform, we'd very much appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break and we're going to insert some audio ads, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about some of the super comments that we have, and then we'll close out the show and I will head on over to group therapy. So Josh and I will be right back.
If I would have applied myself, I could have gone to the NBA.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. But it's just like, it's been done. I didn't want to, I was like, I don't want to be a follower. Hi, I'm Jason Concepcion.
And I'm Shea Serrano. And we are back. We have a new podcast from Wondery. It's called Six Trophies.
Woo!
And it's the best.
Each week, Shea Serrano and I are combing through all the NBA storylines, finding the best, most interesting, most compelling stories, and then handing out 6 pop culture themed trophies for 6 basketball related activities.
Trophies like the Dominic Toretto I Live My Life a Quarter Mile at a Time trophy, which is given to someone who made a short-term decision with no regard for future consequence.
Or the Christopher Nolan Tenet trophy, which is given to someone who did something that we didn't understand.
Catalina Wine Mixer trophy.
Ooh, the Lauryn Hill You Might Win Some, but You Just Lost One trophy. And what's more, the NBA playoffs are here, so you want to make 6 Trophies your go-to companion podcast through all the craziness. Follow 6 Trophies on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. Listen ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
Whether you're a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring podcasts on the Blue Wire Network. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE System. If you haven't heard of the EE System yet, then you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Wherever you are across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE System technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/bluewire to learn more and find a center near you. That's unified, UNIFYD, healing.com/bluewire. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including EE system.
All right, thank you so much for listening to those ads. So we got a few super comments I want to get to. Shout out to my man Henry, constant super chatter, giving us tips here and there throughout the season. He says, run it back. Love that positive attitude, even after losing in the finals. Then my friend JM3245 said, on Friday, I committed to $100 when the Mavs win Game 7. Came up short, but here's a little something for a season of great pods. Thanks to you both and to all the other guests over the last few months. Our guy Cowboy says, MFFL, I'm unsure if the Mavericks know who's the third and fourth scoring and ball handling options are going into the preseason next year, but still super proud of the guys. David McDaniel says, Mavs are a whole is greater than the sum of the parts team. When connected, they're a different beast. When we aren't, we look like a much worse team. Luca Fan 77 says, thank you so much. Just wanted to say thank you guys for everything this year. What a run. We will be back. Need some spacing and a third creator. Omar says, thank you guys for the content this season. Hope you guys continue to grow. Our man Will says, last Kirkle jerk of the season until next year. Will we keep going throughout the offseason? My man Glenn King, who I'm hopefully going to hang out with in Vegas when I go out there next month, says, I need to be talked off the ledge. Other than Josh Green, I didn't see anyone out there giving 150%. Then, holy shit, Stephen Long with an absolutely preposterous super chat. Thank you so much, Stephen. Not the result I hoped for, but if you told me at the beginning of the season we would have finished second, I wouldn't have snapped it up. Thanks for a year of great analysis and entertainment. Stephen, that's an incredible comment. Oh my God, we got another one. Sebastian Vera says, profound thanks to you guys. Truly inspired by your dedication and passion that enhance joy in wins and help process losses. Let's celebrate the team that brought us so much unexpected joy this season and with so much to look forward to. Cheers. Then another incredible comment. Bobby Chapman says, great season, boys. Honestly, this team way outperformed expectations. Hopefully Luka rests up and gears up for a ruthlessness MVP type season. Love you, boys. I'll be on video next year. Then we have Claudius with a $10 super sticker. Thank you, Claudius. LOL, what 31? Man, you guys have left a lot of comments. I wasn't paying attention. Super long, season-long lurker, best Mavs pod with the best Mavs takes. Thanks again for a great year. Klotzman84 says, thank you both for a great year. Longtime commenter Joe Biden says, here's $14. Thank you so much, guys. That was an incredible run of super comments, like $400 to $500 worth, if I can count correctly. Like, Jesus Christ. Don't know what to do with that other than be eternally grateful for the people who help support this show. Josh, are there more things? Are there more things? I don't know what to do now.
I don't know. It feels weird to go back and talk about the individual game, but like 15 offensive rebounds for the Celtics, by the way. We didn't really talk about that in the first half. That was killer, but yeah, I just keep thinking about like when they were 26 and 23 and your wife scheduled your 40th birthday party, because at that point of the season it was like, well, they're gonna be done, right? They're not gonna still be playing games, and like it's kind of crazy. Like you and your wife had a baby in this season. Like that happened. Like it is weird to think that we are still in that. Like that. Like it already feels like that happened 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just crazy how long these seasons. Like it's June 17th, and like we really started picking up in earnest. End of September, beginning of October, when we're gearing up right before opening night. Like it's just the NBA season is so long.
It's real long. I mean, the playoffs are 2 solid months.
It's crazy. It gives me more appreciation for like these guys that are in the final. Like LeBron's run where he was in the finals every year. Like those steroids must be awesome. Like I don't know how he does it. Like it's just ridiculous. Like I'm tired. I don't even playing. Like it's just crazy.
No, I mean I have a real it's ridiculous. And Henry talked to me about this. He sent me some texts. I need to be taking magnesium, but like I'm honestly so tired. I've had an eye twitch for about a month.
I'm so tired.
I'm so tired, and I and we don't do this for work. Like, it's not our work. It's our passion play, and like we get to the end.
I've got a meeting at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Full-time.
No, and don't write about this. There's nothing to write about. Like, write about it in the coming days. I mean, I'm going to be throwing up off-season plan stuff. I mean, draft is next week. We got one pick. I don't really care.
A brawny pick.
Yeah, and then we'll probably do a lot of like player reviews. We'll talk about free agency, but I'm not even like, my bearings don't exist.
I know. I think the main thing is just hope fans don't kill each other tonight, because it really was a pretty ridiculous season. I'm just going to keep going back to that when they were 26 and 23. Like, I'll just be like, it's just such an insane run to go from that to the finals. And it's not even like, from that moment, they've basically been winning like almost every game. Like, it's not like they kind of crept in the playoffs and then just got hot. Like, they went from 26 and 23 to 50 and 32, and then they go through. Then they win. They get all the way to the NBA Finals. Like, when was the last? I mean, they just lost 4 out of 5 games. This team hasn't lost 4 out of 5 games since that stretch right coming out of the All-Star break, right? When they lost 5 of 6. Yeah. So we haven't watched this team lose this many games in this short amount of period of time since March 5th. Yeah. So it's just kind of it's just kind of wild to just see that progression of where the team is. And yeah, I mean, 12 months ago, we were thinking this team is not dead and buried, but the organization has to do some heavy lifting. And they're going to have to be like, I think the big thing is, like we were saying, they need to be patient, because they're not going to be able to rebuild this thing in a year or two. And then what do? They rebuild this thing in a year or two, and they go from 11th place to the NBA Finals. So I don't know. What do we know? But apparently, just makes me more curious to see what they're doing this summer, and we'll have plenty thoughts on that as we
get. Yeah. I don't know what those thoughts will be. I mean, I one of the things I kind of grew like. And this is a me thing. Like, I think that when you run like a run, when you that's not the right way, I mean, to phrase this at all. When you attempt to run a show and be part of a community that really encourages like fan participation, you run into people that just have a wildly different worldview than you. And you talked earlier in the show about not telling people how to fan. Well, like, I've just grown weary, and I don't know what to do, because like I would love to continue to engage with people like this, but it's like there were a lot of folks over the course of the year that just didn't have any interest in any sort of Maverick related criticism whatsoever. And that's not how I consume sports. And so as we kind of headlong into this after just almost reaching the pinnacle, I think it's worthwhile to parse both what worked and what didn't. Because if you don't build or learn, or at least be frank about what didn't work, then I don't really see how the team grows from that. You know what I mean?
No, I know. I think I do. It sounds like you feel like you're kind of wrestling with this. I understand that this season was incredible, but also there's going to be people that tell me everything's fine, and they don't, there's always room for improvement. Like if
this is the mountaintop for a Luka Doncic led team, I have mixed feelings on that. Do you know what I mean?
Right. I understand. It's tough, because you don't want to come off, you don't want to come off as like you're trying to belittle the accomplishment of what the season was.
Absolutely not.
But also you understand that, like, hey, the goal of this is to win. You play to win the games, right? Like, so they have room to improve. Like, they're not a perfect team, or they would have won the title this year. And if the Celtics are going to be back, and Denver and Minnesota and Oklahoma City is looming, like, they're already a great team with young players, and all these other teams that can trade and make a lot of trades because they got a lot of trade assets, like the Memphis Grizzlies, who kind of were a team on the rise that fell off because everything went wrong. Like, they're not really going away. Like, they're going to be back next season, I would assume, and they've got a lot of wiggle room to play with their draft picks and capital. Like, you know, you think back to the Dirk years when they made it in 06, and you're gonna come right back, and you know, you never know.
I gotta say something. There's this guy who's in the comments all the time. His name's Fan123. Shout out for showing up every time. Any year without a championship is a failure in the Luka era. If this is how you approach sports, then every moment you spend watching is a waste of time. One team wins every year. One fucking team. It's so hard to win a championship. I watched Dirk struggle through every possible level of adversity. Every single one. And you're going to tell me that shit was a waste of time because Dirk didn't win every year? Fuck out of here. Grow up. Stop being a baby. This shit is hard. You're going to tell Luka that this was a waste of his year? Get out of here. My God, some of you are so stupid with this stuff. It's supposed to be fun, and you can't have any fun because all you do is talk about how everything's a failure. God damn, that shit wears me out. Do you think the Celtics would give up the last 6 years of their struggle for this one moment? I guarantee you they wouldn't. It's about the journey.
They're also not here without that. Like, that's what leads them to this moment. You don't, like, what did Dirk, remember what Dirk talks about after the failures of 06 and 07 and how much that shaped him and how he finished his career?
My time, your time as a fan is not wasted on this. Dirk's or Luka's time is not wasted. Oh my God, one of my college fraternity brothers is in the chat. And he just called me AMP, which was my nickname, which stood for anger management problem.
I cannot imagine how you got that nickname with your friends. That is truly a mystery.
I don't know. It's just like to imply all of this is a waste of time means you're an idiot.
Also means you're wasting your time watching.
Yeah.
Which is like, if that's how you feel, I don't, do what you want to do. But if that's how we thought about it, like, I would not be staying up every night till 2 a.m. writing stories and us recording podcasts. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know what else to say.
Now my wife is in the chat. Jesus Christ.
You woke the baby.
No, he's on the other side of the house.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Look, she says time for a new shirt. Doncic Lively 2028. Probably. That's actually.
Don't you have a shirt like that, kind of?
No, but the shirt I have on now is Doncic Hardaway.
Oh, that did not.
No, but dude, I've had this thing since 2020. That it is still a thing is kind of incredible.
That's kind of funny. That was back when Hardaway was making a lot of threes, so that made more sense. Okay.
I'm so tired.
I know. I don't know how to follow that up. I
didn't scare Fan123 out of here. He cares too much. I know him. I know that isn't what he meant. I know he's frustrated with the front office and years of things that didn't go their way. That's what he actually was intending to say. I'm almost 100% positive. And to a certain degree, Josh and I lived there because we did this in 2020 where, like, the Mavericks fucked up that free agency and we just spent like 2 hours being like, what is happening?
And then they rectified that stuff, and that's why they were finals. Like, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
JM13245 says, awesome shirt, didn't age well, but awesome anyways. I would argue it aged well because I would never, when the Mavericks traded for Tim Hardaway, I was like, he's the tax. The Mavericks are going to get off him as soon as possible. And he's been with the team the whole time. They extended him. That is crazy.
Has he been a Maverick longer than he's been anything else?
I would guess so.
Maybe
he was traded, like he was on Atlanta twice, I think, or at least New York twice. Like he's impressively weird.
The Dallas Mavericks are his longest tenured team now. He was 4 years with the Knicks, 2 years with Atlanta, and now he's just finished up his 5th full season in Dallas.
Paul Armstrong gave us a super comment right along these lines. This is my Super Bowl. This is God Allah Zenu willing. The last time I ever have to see THJ in a Mavericks jersey.
Zenu is cracking me up.
I needed it.
Wait, so you think Doesn't he have another year left on his deal?
Oh yeah, he's absolutely a Maverick. Like him and Josh, like Josh Green.
I was like, who's do you want to give up a pick to trade him? Who's trading for him right now?
Well, we're gonna get into this stuff soon. I don't want to talk about all the off-season stuff. So all right, I'm gonna host the next live show. We'll figure out what our upcoming streams are gonna be. Here's how you actually, guys, like I think there's a setting on YouTube where if you want to join a live stream, like you can get notified every single time. So I don't know how you actually do it, but there's something within the page settings where whenever we go live, there's your ability to get noticed. I try to publicize this stuff. We'll try to do it on a regular schedule. I bet what we'll do with at least player recaps and kind of season review type stuff, we'll do like twice a week. Free agency will happen. I'm going to go to Vegas for Summer League. I'm trying to bully Ben Zadell to go as well. I don't think we'll really have anything to write about with regards to Summer League other than Omax like playing a gajillion minutes.
And Derek Lively shooting 5 threes a game.
Do you think he'll even play?
I don't know. Maybe.
See, that's the best part. That's like the speculation is everybody's favorite part. So we'll figure that stuff out soon. All right, guys, hang around here for group therapy. This has been Kirk Henderson and Josh Bowe. Thank you so much for an amazing season. Thank you so much for hanging out. Please be willing to stay along as we continue our journey throughout the offseason because there's actually a surprising amount to talk about. There really, really is. We have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, look, when LeBron gets signed here in July, we're gonna have a lot. We're gonna have a lot of stuff.
Do you know how I'm pre-tired thinking about a LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic like team, like Also, I'm just putting this out into the void. I'm putting together a Google form at some point. We're going to ask for more contributors to Mavs Moneyball. So if you at all have like your comments, Josh can attest to this. I bring on people from all walks of life, all opinions. We do not have a Mavericks point of view on our site other than we want your earnest take on things. So if you are in the comments and you say, yeah, I can do it better than these two jokers, maybe you can. I don't know. We're okay with that.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. We have one more super comment. Shout out to Volta Del Mar. When people talk about the other superstars, I say I won't be impressed until they can prove that they can win with Tim Hardaway Jr. Poor Timmy, taking shots on the way out. We'll hang around here for a Mavs group therapy. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your week insofar as you can. Bye, guys.